Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Paul Machin, this is Chris Paycheck, and we're joined by Dan Nicolson for this one. Head honcho. You happy with that? Boss night?
Maybe. No, there's a team behind it. I'm often one of the people that pop up, but yeah, there's a couple of us behind it.
Okay, but cool. Head honcho amongst many. Do any of them sit above you in the organisation?
We're equal. So actually, boss. I mean, if you're interested, boss essentially is me and Sean.
Yeah.
But there is like a team of people that work with us. Alongside us to help deliver the events, the social media content, the ideas, all that kind of thing. Yeah, so it's not just me, it's not just Sean. It's a bigger team.
It's become pretty sort of ubiquitous, I think, amongst sort of Liverpool fans, probably globally at this point, because even if you might be from North America or whatever, you've been doing stuff over there. You've taken it around the world on pre-seasons and actually in between bits and pieces. For those who don't know, though, I guess best associated with the rise of Jamie Webster. We've obviously talked with Kiev as well and a bunch of other lads. We'll come on to the history of it, really, but I want to know, to kick us off, what has been, for you, the pinnacle of the Boss Night experience so far?
Oh, good question. There's been a few really, really nice highlights. So firstly, the stuff that we started doing in this city, the smaller scale stuff.
And sound.
Sound, food and drink. Some of the amazing events that we had in there that were literally just gatherings of lads and girls from the match, because that's how this came about. It's a very organic. There's no business plan behind it. There was no grand master plan of what this could become. It was a real sort of grassroots organic thing that was just about us with our mates having a good time and trying to say to everyone after the match, should we just go back here and enjoy a few pints and some music? But in terms of the pinnacle, to answer your question, yeah, I think some of the stuff that we did when it really started to take off. So you said before about the rise of Jamie. Of course, Jamie, what an amazing, incredible talent, and what a journey he's gone on, and what a journey sort of Boss went on with him.
Yeah.
Alongside this. And I think some of those early events in district when things were really, really starting to kick off, when LA was just coming on the terraces, and Jamie was then sort of bringing it to life on guitar, and hundreds of people packed in, flares going off, and there's something really special about those moments. But then you think about some of the real big things, Madrid, Paris, Kiev, these incredible experiences that we had that became like a real extension of what was happening on the pitch. We were able to sort of carry on the party off the pitch, and really bring people together, and something that I'm really proud of. And far too many to actually pin down on a single one, though.
Which was the least stressful of all, of all the big ones?
Do you know what? It doesn't actually get easier. There's a lot of stress and worry. There's a lot of, I wouldn't go as far as sleepless nights, because this is like a really enjoyable thing that we do, and thankfully we've got quite a professional team around us who sort of know how to deliver these sort of large scale events. But I would say I do get nerves before each one. There's been, whether it's European Cup finals, pre-season tours, things that you think that you could sit back and actually enjoy, you don't until that gig is over.
Yeah,
that's when you can take a sigh and begin to enjoy it.
What was it like, Kiev, as an example? Because I think when you ask people that have been to maybe all of them, that one seems to have the magic attached to it for a lot of fans.
Kiev was a real unknown. Nobody quite knew what that was gonna pan out like. Played Roman in the semi-final, didn't we? And I think it's the day after I text Tony Barrett. And this wasn't about Boss, it wasn't about me or anything. It was about Jamie, really, because Jamie had just sort of been, bubbling under, certainly known in our city and in the sort of match-going culture, the match-going circles. But he was just about to sort of bubble over. And I text Tony the next day. And I said, I think the wording of the text was something like, this isn't about Boss or me or anything like that. But whatever happens in Kiev, Jamie needs to be involved somehow, because, you know, he's here and he deserves it. He deserves whatever platform that we can give him. And fair play to Tony, he agreed. He played. And he connected me to Tom Cassidy, who I've worked with now. Tom works at the club. And we've worked on many projects now over the years. But Tom and I got together and said, okay, well, what can we do here? The club had been given access to a small area in Shevchenko Park, which turned out to be a very, very small area. Certainly not big enough for what we ended up doing. And the way it came about, you know, there was a whole degree of planning that went into it, and other artists. You know, we had John Power, Peter Newton, Kiev, we had my daughter's iPad playing the music, you know, Spotify playlist, that kind of thing. But
2 idiots from Redmen TV were on stage.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So you guys got up.
And the Anfield rap nearly not making it on time,
That's
I remember
right,
as well.
Yeah. So we had this real mix of people on this really sort of, it was almost like a bandstand in a park. Yeah. You know, it was a small stage. And I don't think any of us quite knew, because, you know, this was... You know, we had the UEFA Cup final, the Europa League final in Bâle, but this was LFC back on the big stage for the first time in just over a decade. Yeah. You know, first time, post-Athens, post-Istanbul, and the culture had moved on. You know, it was a little bit different, and there was amazing fan park experiences in both Athens and Istanbul, particularly Istanbul. But it felt like this time the fans wanted more, needed more. And when we rolled up that day, I remember the sun was shining, beautiful blue skies, and it filled up really, really early on. And that's when I knew, actually, there's nobody here around, you know, getting people to this place. This is really, really going to work, and it did.
I remember trying to visualise what it was going to look like. And so I was Googling, like, trying to find video clips and photos from the Athens one. Yeah. To try and it was like nothing. It was like a church fete almost by comparison. You know, you're saying compared to what follows, Kiev was felt a bit ragtag or whatever, but compared to it was at least a legit stage with proper, you know, surroundings and all that kind of stuff.
Well, Athens was amazing. They had Pete Wiley on, had John Power on, and hardly anyone there because it was the wrong choice of stadium. For a major final, it was the wrong choice of stadium. And that fan park experience was a little bit off the beaten track, away from the stadium. Not far from the stadium, but it wasn't on the main route into the stadium. And there was lots of issues getting in that day. So I remember getting there, and we were like, oh yeah, there's John, there's Pete, you know, playing, and isn't this great? But there's no one there. Fast forward 11 years to Kiev, and of course, totally different experience.
What was so I think sometimes Liverpool fans, talking as one myself here, sometimes when you think the club are organising something, I'll probably go and do something else.
Yeah.
This was the first time, wasn't it, where everything married beautifully because the club trusted the fans to be able to put something on for the fans.
Exactly. So absolute kudos to the likes of Tom Cassidy and Tony Barrett at the club for giving us the trust and the backing here. And not just Boss, Redmen, the Anfield Rap, the artists themselves, because it's so easy for clubs to maintain ownership, to become protective of things like this. But as you say, it can never ever be done authentically or in a genuine manner. I often think when football clubs try to tell us what to do as fans, we naturally rebel.
Yeah.
So they could be saying, I don't know, it's 3 pints, and we'd be like, no way.
Not enough use.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Because that's just how it works. And
that's a very Scouse thing, isn't it?
Well, it's very Scouse, but I think that's sort of across the board for football fans. But I think the club, and as I say, there's a lot of key people at the club who really get this, that supporter culture can't come top down. They can't tell us that Jamie Webster, the Anfield Rap, Redmen TV are all on. Because we'll be like, no. But if Boss says Jamie Webster, the Anfield Rap, Redmen TV are on, and it comes from the grassroots up, then of course it's accepted. And it's just weird. It's just a fact of football supporters. It's just the way it works.
Bringing it back to Jamie, because that 2018, the first season back in the Champions League, and what a mad ride that was. And you mentioned LA comes out of the back of the Porto away game. absolutely dominated that. But you've got this thing where that back end of the season just felt genuinely magical. You had the videos coming out of Jamie being shot from behind, and there's all the smoke going off. I presume that's in district.
Yeah.
He then plays the player awards at the end of the season on the main stand, and that was famously for us anyway when Jürgen came over and said that he watched what we did, and all the players were buzzing, and it did feel like for the first time there was a great sort of synergy between, and I think Klopp played a huge part in that, of how welcoming he was of the idea of embracing the culture and letting people get used to like the idea that you can have fun following the footy again.
Yeah, exactly. There's a banner behind your head, Paul, unity is strength. And I think Kiev was the perfect, and that run in that 2018, end of the 2018 season, was the perfect example of that, between what was going on the pitch, the club as a whole, and then the fans. I've spoke about this a few times before, but if we rewind back to Athens 11 years earlier, it was horrible. Coming out that ground in Greece, it was tense. People were arguing with each other, fighting each other. It just didn't feel... there was no synergy. Yeah. You know, it didn't feel nice. Fast forward 11 years on, we came out of that stadium in Kiev, again having lost a European Cup final. Totally different. Yeah. People came out singing. People came out with smiles on their faces. There was no sort of Scouse versus out-of-towner tension. There was no, I'm more of a match goer than you, or how did you get it? Anything like that. Everyone was united as one. And I think it is that triangle between the on the pitch, the club itself, and then the fans all acting as one. And as I say, 11 years earlier, we didn't have that in Athens. Kiev, we did, but it doesn't happen overnight. That's a build-up, and Jürgen's responsible for it. I've spoke about this loads, where it's almost like Jürgen's at the top and his energy bounces down to us fans, and then we reverberate it back to him, and it's just back and forth. But it's very important that, and most football clubs don't have that. Potentially will never have it. We might have it forever.
Would you remember, I don't know how much you got to experience of Madrid, but me and my dad were walking the streets of Madrid, and you'd find pockets of Spurs fans, and like they were just having a drink and a chat, and occasionally they burst into a very cockney, very generic sort of football chat, maybe like Harry Kane's one of our own. And by the time we made it to the fan park this time around, and it was probably 30 to 40,000 people when we arrived. It probably doubled that by the time it reached its sort of crescendo. And that was the fundamental difference. Is like, I'm thinking, maybe my dad saying it, there's no other football club that's got this. Not just like one musician, but half a dozen artists who've all got a spin on a particular Liverpool-based theme, and all the different songs as well. Yeah. Nothing comes close.
Yeah. I'm about 2 weeks to organise in a foreign country, maybe less. And it was the same in Paris. Paris, of course, totally overshadowed by what happened at the stadium. But up until then, it was the perfect day. Yeah. Like in the fan park, it was absolutely incredible. We had Jamie on with the lightning seeds on. We had John Power. It was like this incredible lineup, this amazing atmosphere, and of course, totally tarnished by what happened next. But it is that thing around creating that party and having that culture and that buy-in from people. And listen, it's not for everyone. Mates of mine, when in Paris, like, we've done the fan park thing now. We're just going to go and find a quiet boozer to have a pint in. That's absolutely fine. But there is this sort of demand, I think, from people, from our fans now around the world, who they just don't want the on the pitch success. Mm-hmm. They want to buy in and get in the deep end of this culture that we've got away from the 11 players. Yeah.
How did it start then? Because obviously, we've known Boss Night for a long time, but if you take us back before then, to your mind, and when you first came up with the idea for Boss Mag, what were you thinking it could be?
Yeah, so, Boss was a fanzine, and a lot of people probably don't know that. Boss was a black and white fanzine that we sold for £1. It was photocopied to begin with. So, in probably around 2006, so I was like 21, 22 thereabouts, and going to pretty much every home and away game in domestically and in Europe. And, with my mates having a great time, also very sort of active in the city in terms of like the music and just going out, just doing what we all did in our early 20s, just having a good time. I really felt at the time that nobody was sort of recording stories of what was happening. Nobody was sort of getting it down on paper in a physical format that in 20, 30, 40 years' time, somebody could pick up and go, oh, that's what they were doing back then. Nobody was capturing that. So I was really passionate about like, how can we do something here? And I didn't particularly want to be the person to do it. Yeah. Really, I wanted somebody else to do it. But as I started to canvass opinion amongst my mates and stuff, because this was never like about finding the best writers in the city. This is literally saying to my mates, okay, we're going to Portsmouth away. Do you want to write a few hundred words on it, and we'll just bang it in? And and so it came up with this idea of doing a fanzine, called it Boss. Little bit of trivia that maybe not many people know. I'm actually sure I've said this in public for a while, but to begin with, I wanted to be a Merseyside fanzine, Liverpool and Everton, and that could have changed the culture forever, couldn't it? We would have went down that route. But I decided I'd Everton mates, Everton mates from school, and we went to the same school, and I had mates. So they were in Europe at the time. They had a game against Kiev in the Ukraine, and I was thinking, like, wouldn't it be great to get like the Everton viewpoint, lad in his early 20s going to the Ukraine and stuff. But my Everton mates that I mentioned it to just weren't into it. Obviously it was cop-out behaviour. So then, thankfully, I was able to just concentrate.
They'd never been able to get 600 words anyway.
I was able to concentrate on just making an LFC thing. And listen, to begin with, it was photocopied. I used my brother's university pass at the time to go into his uni, put it into the photocopier and print off 100 copies, photocopied, stapled. Really, really didn't want to sell it. Didn't want to stand outside Anfield saying, buy a copy of us. Put it into the HJC shop. Yeah. They were absolutely fantastic, at the beginning, such a great supporters of us. And they sold it. And the first 100 copies went in about 10 minutes. Which meant I had to go to find a proper printer to print 1,000 copies for next week, and then they went. Yeah. And then what we created was this black and white fanzine, which ran up until 2015, I think. We did 16 issues of it. We did issues when we felt like it. There was no commercial agenda to it. Any adverts in there were basically our mates, just putting an ad in for whatever he was selling. It was just about recording what was going on at the time. And then we made a decision, or I think I made a decision that at this time, my daughter just being born, you've got a wife, a mortgage, that kind of thing. You're not getting to as many away games as you once did. How can you write about the scene? How can you write about that culture when you're not actually totally at the centre of it? Yeah. But of course, what happened amongst all this was this thing called Boss Night had emerged. And as I said before, there was no grand plan. There was no sort of vision around what it could become. It was basically, we're in the UEFA Cup. We've got a load of Sunday games. How about if we just got all the lads and girls from the match back to a pub in town, got loads of mates who are in bands that can pick up a guitar and start playing. They just do a few covers in the corner and we just have a great time. Yeah. And that's what it was. Really, really organic. And then, it just snowballed from there.
Obviously, reached the point now where, it's just absolutely huge. We've obviously mentioned Kiev and Madrid and Paris, but even to like this summer just gone, pre-season tour, we were together in Philadelphia for the Liverpool-Arsenal game there and putting on that kind of thing in the grounds of like a major American stadium ahead of a Liverpool game. Do you still get the same buzz from doing it at this
definitely
point?
I think like I'm really, really passionate about just creating these really good events for our fans no matter where they are in the world. So the pre-season tour you mentioned then, that was me working for the club as opposed to sort of Boss sort of deciding to go out there and stuff. So again, kudos to the club because they've sort of realised that, well, actually we want it to be authentic. We want to give our fans in America a slice of what it's like back home. I think they probably know that they can't recreate that same atmosphere. They can have a go and stuff, but for it to have that authentic feel to it, you've sort of got to get the people that are doing it 365 days a year. So, yes, that was me working at the club, and obviously having like yourself involved, Jamie involved, we had Mo Stewart DJing. It's like a real good mixture of the people that are doing stuff in the city around the club and taking that culture overseas.
I just love the fact that I think that the American fan base, they're just up for it. Like, honestly, we walked out there, a couple of thousand people or whatever in front of us, and it's like every joke landed. Like, you know what I mean? Like some sort of like well-trained comedian and stuff, because they're so keen. They want to sing the songs, they want to get involved in the banter and all that kind of stuff. Just thought it was absolutely magnificent.
There's something really, really unique about our overseas fan base when compared to other clubs. So I've been fortunate enough to do work for the club, and I've been on a few pre-season tours now. And also I've been on pre-season tours as a fan, and you get this insight into our global fan base doesn't just buy into the idea of having the 11 best players in the country and winning trophies. That's nice. We all want that. But I think if you're a Man City fan in America, or a Chelsea fan in Thailand, or a Man United fan in Japan or whatever, I think that's probably as far as your support goes, what's happening on the pitch. Yeah. But I really believe that our fans go further. They want the success, but they also want to stand there with a red and white bar scarf, waving above their head, singing "LA, LA, LA." Yeah. They want to understand what it means to be Scouse and the history of this city and how the football club is so important within the city. They want to know the songs. They want to know the culture. That kind of thing, and there's something really. Have
you noticed they share the same values socially as well?
I think there is a lot of it, because I don't think you can avoid that. I'm not going to sit here and pretend every single Liverpool fan in the world is left-wing socialist, that kind of thing. But if you want to become part of the culture, you want to understand the culture, you'll very quickly understand that, like that banner behind you, again, the one I referenced before, unity is strength, that is part of the club's DNA. When you look at, I'm just looking again, they're the likes of Shankly, the likes of Jerry from the HJC shop that's on the picture there. So if you start to delve into the history, you sort of realise how, as a football club, we're aligned. And even if you don't go that far, listen to Jurgen over the past few years, look at Shankly quotes, you get a very quick idea of who we are.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So it kind of brings us, loosely up to present day, really. We're working together on the Red Weekender. You guys came to us a few months ago with this wild idea of putting on effectively like a Liverpool fan festival over the weekend, in the final weekend of the season. When it looked like Liverpool were probably going to win the league, but it was nowhere near as academic as it kind of became. You've done some amazing things along the journey. We talked about what your pinnacles have been. This feels like you're creating another pinnacle here. Liverpool are going to lift the 20th league title. They're going to get to parade it in front of fans on the Monday, but we get to service that whole weekend basically and create something more than just those sort of 2 days.
Yeah, I think another unique thing about our fan culture is how the people that do stuff within this actually quite like each other and are happy to work together and support each other and help each other. And I don't think every club has that. Every now and again you delve into like Arsenal Twitter or Man United Twitter and you see they all absolutely hate each other. Whereas I think whether it's Bosch, Redmen, Anfield Rap, the club itself, we all actually like working together, the artists, and we all like coming together. So the idea of the Red Weekender, it's been many, many, many months in the making. I've been working on it with...
When did it first start? And was it for this weekend?
This first started about 4 years ago. So myself and Mike Dean, who started Liverpool Music Week, he's worked on Boss extensively over the years. We've been talking about the idea for years. What would a fan festival look like? What would it look like to have a weekend of just events going on? We spoke about the club. We spoke with the club about it. They're up for chats like that. But on this occasion, myself and Mike Dean pushed on, and working with the Arena, who've been an amazing partner in this and so supportive, created this sort of idea template of what would it look like to just have a weekend of celebrations. And this is regardless of winning the league, because when we really got into the nitty-gritty of it 4, 5, 6 months ago, it wasn't a done deal, as you say.
Yeah.
But I think one thing we've got as fans, we do like that party, no matter what. When you think about some of those early boss nights, some of the best events we've had, we've actually got beaten. And people just forgot what's happened on the pitch and just got on with it. So the idea of the Red Weekender was really, how can we bring everyone together under one roof over a weekend in a real sort of professionally executed event, but done in a very authentic and grassroots manner? How can we bring in the people like Redmen, like the Anfield Rap, like all the artists, the bands we like, bring them all in and execute something together for the people that do this 365 days a year? We know that in a couple of weekends' time, every Tom, Dick and Harry is going to be out trying to cash in on the fans. It happens all the time. There'll be bars on Matthew Street probably charging.
As soon as there's a chance of Liverpool winning the league, our emails go like that. Will you do this? Will you do that? Will you do that? And it's always some fella from down south who's got an Instagram account that's putting on England things, and then all of a sudden it's a Liverpool thing and all the England stuff disappears.
Yeah, exactly. So there'll be bars on Matthew Street charging 40 quid to get in. There'll be fellas from down south who've never done an LC event in their life coming up trying to cash in the fans. So we thought, well, actually, how can we do something that is accessible, it's affordable, is an amazing product, offers an amazing experience, but it's done in a real grassroots manner. And that's when we came up with the idea of the Red Weekender. So we've got Boss Night on the Friday night with Rafa Benitez, getting interviewed by Kelly Cates and Jamie Webster. We've got the Lightning Seeds on that night, and we've got Jamie on that night as well. So it'll be a special night. Saturday afternoon, obviously, over to yourselves with an incredible lineup. Kenny Dalglish, family fortunes with Les Dennis.
When because you come to us and we've thrown it around, and the family fortunes thing is 100% Chris Pajak, by the way. Like, we go, well, what about this? And you's going, yeah. And then we might be able to get Les Dennis as well. Like, go away.
So we got that, haven't we? But we've also, there's more on that
but
page.
So you then went, we might be able to get the Zootons, and we were like, fuck,
yeah, so we've got the Zootons, got the Ragamuffins, obviously friends of ours, and we've got meet and greets with players that day. You know, it's like a real special afternoon. In the evening, we've got the Anfield Rap doing their end of season show, and then on the Sunday morning, my favourite event that we've ever done are the Boss Kids events. It's just such like a wholesome time to see Jamie with thousands of kids in front of him, and he's got them in the palm of his hand. So they look at Jamie like he's Mo Salah. Yeah. And it's a real important event for me because I honestly believe 99% of those kids in that audience do not go to Anfield on a regular basis. Yeah. 99.999% will not be going to Anfield for the Crystal Palace game. Yeah. I think it's really important. I know ticketing's a different issue, you know, it's complicated, but it's so important as a football club that there's other means for people to connect. Yeah. And for thousands of kids, their connection to the club is as much through singing Jamie Webster's songs as it is through what happens on the pitch. I honestly believe that. And what you'll see on that Sunday morning is this incredible gathering of kids, you know, whose highlights of the day won't end up being Virgil lifting the cup. It'll be Jamie knocking out LA, or, you know, we love you Liverpool or something.
So just one of those random things off that, I didn't truly experience this until a couple of years ago. And it's a total tangential thing, but my son was doing it was leaving junior school, so 11 years old, and they had like a bus where all his class could drive around, and they put music on. They were putting Jamie songs on, put album songs, and like a bunch of 11-year-olds were all singing every word to a Jamie Webster song, and that's when you go, God, and that's his own music as well as the Liverpool stuff, and that's what you totally get that of there's a new generation now who hold him in as higher esteem as I say as some of the players. He's become like a cultural phenomenon, really. So getting to do that again. Yeah, with him must be absolutely incredible.
No, it is, and it'll be the biggest space that we've done at Boss Kids in as well. So I think it will be a really, really special moment. Hoping there's a few more events to come as well. But we've, there's a lot of hurdles. When you get to this level, it's no longer turning up a sound and putting on a Spotify playlist. There's a lot of hoops to jump through.
One of the things you discussing, there hasn't been totally sort of, the curtain hasn't fully come back on it, but obviously this idea of it being a fan sort of convention almost, so it's not just about turning up to a gig or whatever. There'll be more going on. There's going to be vendors there selling T-shirts and various Liverpool bits and pieces. So the idea, and one of the things one of the things that really excited me about it was, our doors are like 2, well, it starts at 2 for us, but I want people to be able to just like walk around and soak it up and chat with other people, and go and buy a T-shirt off an independent seller. You might be able to go and get like just stuff that's real. It's not just the same old stuff that you're getting from the club store.
And it's more than a gig. It's exactly that. So you're not going to a gig in an academy venue with a relatively low roof and it's black and smoky and that. You're going to come into this amazing space where, as you say, there'll be retailers at the back, there'll be food and drink. We're going to do the meet and greet with former players. You'll be able to chat and talk to fellow people, that kind of thing. It's not going to feel like you're in a dark space like that for 4 hours. So, it's exciting.
I can't wait for it, mate, honestly.
Very, very excited about the whole thing, and I hope you guys at home are too for all that. But obviously the story of Boss is great. We had Kiev and Jamie in years ago to kind of do like a musical journey and talk through the Boss experience. So if you want to check that out, I think that's still out on the YouTube channel as well. If you want to go through some of those amazing things. Still, for me, like one of our most watched videos is Jamie doing Ale in Madrid. Cause I remember being at the front of the stage in that film and like just those experiences, being able to look over that sea of red, to do that actually in the city of Liverpool without having to go, to a European final is going to be.
And still with Jamie as well, because, obviously Jamie's own career has took off. He headlined Sefton Park last year to 40,000 people. He's playing Glastonbury, that kind of thing. He's doing European tours. For Jamie to still, want to be a part of this and have that side of them still out there, I think it's really special. So,
absolutely. Tickets available right now on the redweekender.com. It's obviously come to see us, but there's so many things going on throughout the weekend that you just literally can't go wrong with any section of it. Whether you're going to the match or not, or your plan is just to come to the parade, then come and make a weekend of it and have a good old party at the Red Weekender. Dan, thank you so much.
No problem.
Absolute pleasure to have you in while you've got you're in the eye of the storm at the moment. Little bit of calm around the melee that's going on in the build up to this, but hope to see you guys over there and have a very good